Ever look at a marathon runner and think, "That's impossible for me"? That's exactly what John thought. Just the idea of running 26.2 miles was enough to make his stomach twist with anxiety. He imagined himself collapsing, out of breath, a total failure. And honestly, his first attempt at running didn't do much to change that picture. He laced up his brand-new running shoes, full of a nervous sort of hope, and hit the pavement. He hadn't even reached the 1-mile mark before his lungs were on fire. His legs felt like lead, screaming at him with every clumsy step. Gasping for air, he leaned against a lamppost, defeated. It was humiliating. The voice in his head was loud and clear. "See, you can't do this. Just give up." And he almost did. He went home that day feeling smaller than ever, convinced that some people were just built for greatness, and he wasn't one of them. The running shoes were tossed into the back of his closet, a symbol of his failure. But then something shifted. A few days later, staring at his own reflection, John felt a flicker of defiance. Was he really going to let one bad run define him? Was he going to accept that this was his limit? He decided he wouldn't. That morning, he pulled the shoes back out of the closet. He realized his mistake wasn't in trying, but in how he was trying. He was staring at an enormous mountain, the marathon, and trying to leap to the summit in a single bound. It was overwhelming. So he made a new plan. He decided to break that mountain down into small, manageable hills. His goal was no longer run a marathon. His new goal was simple, almost laughably so. Run 1 mile without stopping, and then do it again tomorrow. He wouldn't think about mile 2 or mile 10 or mile 26, just 1 mile. That first successful mile wasn't glorious. It was slow, it was tough, but he did it. And when he finished, instead of humiliation, he felt a tiny spark, a little whisper that said, "Hey, you did that." The next week, his goal became 2 miles. The week after, 3. Each time he reached a new milestone, no matter how small, that spark of confidence grew a little brighter. The whisper became a bit louder. Maybe, just maybe, you can do this. This new approach changed everything. The weeks started to blend into months. John's life began to revolve around this steady, patient rhythm of progress. He wasn't a marathon runner yet. He was just a guy who ran a little farther each week. Of course, it wasn't all sunshine and personal bests. There were days when his alarm would go off and the last thing he wanted to do was run. There were rainy mornings, sore muscles, and days when the doubt came creeping back in, louder than ever. He'd be halfway through a run, his body feeling weak, and that old voice would return. "Who are you kidding? You're not an athlete. Go home." But he had a new voice now, one that he had carefully nurtured with every small victory. This new voice would answer back, "Just finish this mile. That's all you have to do." And so he did. He kept showing up, step by step, mile by mile. He learned to listen to his body, to respect its limits, but also to gently push them. He wasn't just building physical endurance. He was building mental toughness. He was proving to himself, one run at a time, that he was capable of more than he ever believed. The real turning point, the moment he truly started to believe, came during a long training run. He had set out to run 15 miles, a distance that would have seemed like science fiction just a few months prior. He was exhausted. Every part of him wanted to stop. He was deep into the run, miles from home, when the thought hit him like a lightning bolt. "I've made it this far. 15 miles. What's another 11? For the first time, the full 26.2 miles didn't feel like an impossible mountain. It just felt like the next step. That single thought ignited a fire in him, a powerful, unshakable belief that he didn't know he possessed. The marathon was no longer a question of if, but when. Finally, the day arrived. Marathon Day. John stood at the starting line, surrounded by thousands of other runners, a sea of nervous energy and excitement. The air buzzed with anticipation. He looked around, and instead of feeling out of place, he felt like he belonged. As he waited for the starting gun, his journey flashed before his eyes. He remembered gasping for air on that first 1-mile attempt. He remembered the cold mornings, the aching legs, the internal battles with doubt. But he also remembered the triumph of finishing his first 5-mile run, the pride of hitting 10 miles, and the powerful revelation during that 15-mile run. Every single one of those small, seemingly insignificant steps had led him here, to this starting line. The gun fired and the crowd surged forward. The run was a blur of cheering spectators, fellow runners offering encouragement, and the steady rhythm of his own feet on the pavement. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. There were moments of pain, moments of exhaustion where he had to dig deeper than ever before. But he never thought about quitting. He just thought about the next step, the next water station, the next mile marker. And then he saw it. The finish line. A wave of pure emotion washed over him. Tears started streaming down his face, mixing with the sweat. He pushed through that last stretch, his legs screaming but his heart soaring. As he crossed that finish line, a volunteer placed a medal around his neck. It felt heavier than he could have imagined. In that moment, holding that medal, John realized something profound. The impossible isn't a solid wall. It's just a collection of small, persistent steps, stacked one on top of the other. It's about breaking down the mountain into hills and conquering them one by one. The secret isn't some superhuman strength. It's the quiet courage to just keep showing up. So, if you're looking at your own marathon, whether it's running, starting a business, or learning a new skill, and it feels impossible, remember John. Start small. Focus on that first step, that first mile. Celebrate the tiny victories. Believe in the power of gradual progress because those small, persistent steps can lead you across any finish line you can imagine. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more motivation. Let me know in the comments what marathon you're training for in your own life. I'd love to hear about it. See you in the next one.